Dr. King was assassinated in 1968. His birthday became a national holiday in 1983. For more on Dr. King's legacy, we're joined by Brandon Tatum. He's a conservative commentator and former police officer. Brandon, looking at the state of race relations today, do you think Dr. King would think that his legacy had been fulfilled?
I'm sadly to say, I think Martin Luther King would be rolling around in his grave if he had seen what I believe the Democratic Party has done and some of these people on the left who are conjuring up controversy and racism potentially in this country. It's very sad. I think that if they had followed what Martin Luther King set forth as an example, we would be much more united and we'll be a better country for it.
You're obviously an outspoken supporter of President Trump, as we just heard from what you've just said there. What do you think? What goes through your head when you hear the terms racist, xenophobe in describing the president today?
I think that those are just lies to keep people mentally bound. You know, back in the day, black folks, and I think a majority of this is affecting the black Americans who vote majority for the Democratic Party. But back in the day, we were in bondage physically, and now it's mentally. If they can convince the black community and others that a person is racist, nobody is going to want to support that person. But the problem is that President Trump is probably the most effective pro-black president in United States history. He's done so much for the black community, and not only the things that he set forth specifically for blacks, but also the economy being improved, the unemployment being low, wages are going up. Those things can positively affect African-American people, affect generations to come. So President Trump is doing a tremendous job, and the only way that they can stop him is to try to paint him as a racist.
Well, Brandon, you'd mentioned previously, and it's known, African Americans have a tendency to vote Democratic. What has been the response to you openly supporting the president as a conservative and Republican?
I'm gonna be honest. A lot of black people hate me because I support the president, and they say I'm a sellout and different things like that. But there's many others like myself and my good friend Candace Owens who have waken up to the reality of the Democratic Party. And we are going to focus primarily on voting in our best interests. And I tell people this all the time. It's not about Republican or Democrat. It's about voting in your best interest. And just so happened in this dispensation of time, the Democratic Party has nothing to offer black people. They're actually hurting the black community. If you look at the leadership in some of the poorest areas, some of the areas that are struggling in education, they're all run by career Democrats. So I think that, and I tell people that comment and respond to me, I say, look, focus on the mission, focus on what's best for your community. And if you look at it for what it is, you'll come out supporting the president of the United States.
Civil rights activist Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. assassinated at the age of 39, known for so many different things. But I think one of the biggest platforms, if you've ever studied this man, is unification, the way he was able to bring a mass audience together, people from all around our great nation here. If Dr. King was here today, what kind of advice do you think he would give the American people? If he was on that stage again, giving an address, what do you think he'd say? What's your opinion on that?
I think he'll tell the nation that you need to make sure you return to God. Focus on God. Put God as the forefront and your priority, because with God, there's unity. And that's what Martin Luther King stood on. He was a Christian man. He was a pastor, and he understood that this is a spiritual battle as well. And so I think he would preach from the perspective of putting God first, and also remembering, it's not about the color of your skin, but the content of your character. And I'm telling you, he would tell everybody in America to lay all of this bull crap aside and let's unite on the things that we have in common, and let's pursue the American dream so we all can prosper, we all can do better, and we can make our country better for the next generation.
All right. And we'd spoken again briefly about Democrats and who that potential candidate might be. We'll end up keeping a closer eye on it. The party seems to lose diverse candidates every day. What could be your response to that?
They're the party of racism, if you ask me. They're the party of division. They're the party of lies, the KKK, all of the above. And I think people forget that. It's not surprising to me that they have all white candidates on the thing, and all rich white old men that they claim to be against. And I wouldn't care, because it's not about race to me, but they play identity politics, so it's biting them in the rear end.
Okay. All right. Brandon Tatum. He's a conservative commentator and former police officer. Thank you for your